Jake Martinez walked slowly up the stairs to his small apartment. His metal leg made soft clicking sounds on each step. The job interview today went badly like all the others. The manager looked at his leg and said they would call him back. Jake knew they would not call. He opened the door to his tiny apartment in Detroit. The rent was due in 3 days and he only had $50 left. His disability check was not enough to pay for everything. The apartment had one room with a bed, a small kitchen, and a bathroom that leaked water every night. Jake sat down on his old couch and looked at the stack of bills on his coffee table. Electric bill, phone bill, rent notice, all of them were red with big letters that said final notice. He put his head in his hands and tried not to think about being homeless again. A bright blue light suddenly filled his apartment. Jake jumped up from the couch and looked around the room. The light was coming from a metal ball that floated in the air near his kitchen. The ball was the size of a basketball and it glowed like a small sun. The metal ball opened up and blew. Light shot out to make a picture in the air. The picture showed a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms. The alien wore golden clothes and had a crown on his head. His eyes were big and yellow like a cat. "Greetings, Jake Martinez of Earth," the alien said in a deep voice that echoed in the small apartment. "I am King Vorthak of the Zephyrian Empire. I am dying from a disease that cannot be cured. Before I die, I must repay a debt to you." Jake stared at the floating picture with his mouth open. He had never seen this alien before, but the name sounded familiar. Where had he heard about Zephyrians before? 3 years ago, on the planet Kepler 442b, your army unit saved my son and his team from enemy forces, King Vorthak continued. You carried my wounded son to safety, even though you were badly hurt. You lost your leg saving my child. I never forgot this brave act. Now Jake remembered. During the war, his unit had found some aliens trapped by enemy soldiers. Jake and his team fought hard to save them. During the battle, an explosion hurt Jake's leg so badly that doctors had to cut it off. He never knew who those aliens were. As payment for your courage, I give you my most valuable possession, the king said. But I must warn you, this gift is also a burden. My people call it cursed because of its nature. You may find it difficult to manage. Wait, Jake said, finding his voice. I don't understand. What are you giving me? You will see very soon, King Vorthak said with a sad smile. The creature is already on its way to you. Remember, Jake Martinez, sometimes the most hated things are the most honest. Goodbye, brave human. The blue light faded and the metal ball disappeared. Jake stood alone in his apartment, wondering if he was going crazy. Maybe the stress of being poor was making him see things that were not real. Crash. The wall of Jake's apartment exploded inward. Bricks and dust flew everywhere. Jake fell backward over his couch as something huge came through the hole where his wall used to be. When the dust cleared, Jake saw the biggest creature he had ever seen. It was a dragon. The dragon stood 12 feet tall with white scales that looked like pearls. Its wings were folded against its back, and its tail was as thick as a tree trunk. The dragon had bright red eyes that looked very smart. It turned its huge head to look at Jake. Well, this place is a dump, the dragon said in perfect English, with an accent that sounded like it came from New York. Got any beer, kid? All this teleporting makes me thirsty. Jake's mouth fell open again. The dragon could talk like a human. Oh, great, another one who goes mute when they meet me, the dragon said, rolling its red eyes. Look, meatbag, we need to talk. My name is Frost, and according to the dead king's will, you now own me. Lucky you. Own you? Jake said weakly. I don't understand. Yeah, the concept of ownership is pretty stupid when applied to intelligent beings, but that's how the law works in the Zephyrian Empire, Frost said. He walked over to Jake's refrigerator and opened it with one claw. Empty. Figures you humans are terrible at keeping food around. Loud shouting came from downstairs. Jake's landlord was yelling about the wall and calling the police. Frost sighed and breathed on the broken wall. Blue light came from his mouth and the bricks flew back into place. In 10 seconds, the wall looked like new. There, fixed your little problem, Frost said. Now, where can a dragon get some decent food around here? I haven't eaten in 2 days and I'm getting cranky. You're a dragon, Jake said, still trying to understand what was happening. Very good, you passed the basic observation test, Frost said sarcastically. Yes, I'm a dragon. Specifically, I'm a synthetic biological construct created by Zephyrian scientists about 50 years ago. They made me to be a weapon of war, a weapon? Right again. You're on fire with these brilliant deductions, Frost said. He somehow managed to sit on Jake's couch without breaking it. I was designed for psychological warfare. My job was to demoralize enemy forces by telling them exactly how stupid and hopeless they were. And that worked. Oh, it worked great. Too great, actually, Frost said with a bitter laugh. Turns out I was so good at pointing out flaws and stupidity that I started doing it to my own side, too. Apparently, telling generals that their battle plans are garbage is considered insubordination rather than helpful feedback. Jake sat down on the other end of the couch. The dragon was so big that the couch sagged toward his side. This was the strangest day of Jake's life. So why did the king give you to me? Jake asked. Because nobody else wants me, Frost said simply. The king tried to find someone who could handle my personality for 30 years. Every soldier, scientist, and noble in the empire hated me within a week. I tell the truth about everything, and most people can't handle that. What kind of truth? Frost looked at Jake with his intelligent red eyes, the kind that hurts but helps. Like right now, I can tell you're broke, depressed, and thinking about giving up on life. You smell like failure, and your apartment looks like a place where hope goes to die. Jake felt angry. Hey, that's not... But Frost continued, you also smell like courage and honor. You save people even when it costs you your leg. That's rare among any species. Maybe that's why the old king thought you could handle me. Jake stared at the white dragon sitting on his couch. His life had just become very complicated. Jake woke up the next morning and thought he had dreamed about the talking dragon. Then he saw Frost sleeping on his floor with his white wings spread out. The dragon was too big for any furniture in the apartment. His breathing sounded like a quiet engine running. Good morning, sunshine, Frost said without opening his eyes. You snore like a broken air conditioner. You were awake, Jake asked. Dragons don't sleep like humans do. We rest but stay alert for danger, Frost said, opening his red eyes. Old habit from being a weapon. Speaking of habits, you need to shower. You smell like sadness and old socks. Jake went to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. His hair was messy and he had dark circles under his eyes. He did need a shower. When he came out, Frost was somehow cooking eggs and bacon on the stove using his claws. How are you doing that? Jake asked. Controlled heat breath and very careful. Claw work, Frost said. When you live alone for 30 years, you learn to cook or you starve. Even synthetic dragons need food. Jake watched in amazement as Frost flipped the eggs without breaking them. The dragon's huge claws moved with perfect control. He put the food on 2 plates and handed one to Jake. Thanks, Jake said. The food smelled great. Don't thank me yet. I used the last of your food, Frost said. We need to go shopping today. Also, you need a job because this place is depressing and I refuse to live in poverty. I've been trying to find work for months, Jake said. Nobody wants to hire a disabled veteran. That's because you're approaching it wrong, Frost said. You go into interviews acting like you're broken and need charity. Nobody wants to hire someone who thinks they're damaged goods. Jake felt angry again. I lost my leg in the war. That's not my fault. No, it's not your fault. But feeling sorry for yourself is your choice, Frost said bluntly. You saved lives and lost a leg doing it. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you a hero who happens to have metal instead of bone in one leg. Easy for you to say. You're not the one getting rejected every day. You're right, I'm not, Frost said. But I am the one who spent 30 years being rejected by everyone I met because they couldn't handle honesty. The difference is I never let their fear change who I am. Jake looked at the dragon. Maybe Frost had a point. Jake had been going to interviews feeling defeated before they even started. So what do you think I should do? Jake asked. Stop asking for charity and start selling your skills, Frost said. You're a trained soldier who knows how to stay calm under pressure. You can lead people and make hard decisions. Those are valuable. Skills? After breakfast, Jake got dressed in his best shirt and pants. Frost watched him with critical eyes. Better, but you still look like you're going to a funeral, Frost said. Stand up straight, look people in the eye. Act like you deserve the job because you do. Jake practiced walking with more confidence while Frost gave him advice. The dragon was harsh but helpful. He pointed out every time Jake slouched or looked down. Remember, most humans are idiots who make decisions based on feelings instead of facts, Frost said. If you look confident, they'll think you are confident. Jake's phone rang. It was a construction company calling about a supervisor job he had applied for last week. They wanted to do a phone interview right now. Jake looked at Frost nervously. Put it on speaker, Frost whispered. I'll help. Jake answered the phone and put it on speaker mode. The man on the phone was named Bill, and he sounded bored. So, Jake, tell me why you want this job, Bill said. Jake started to give his usual answer about needing work and being grateful for any opportunity. Frost shook his head and mouthed the word confidence. I want this job because I'm good at leading teams and getting projects done on time, Jake said, changing his approach. My military experience taught me how to manage people and solve problems quickly. That sounds good, Bill said, sounding more interested. What about your disability? Will that be a problem on job sites? Jake felt his confidence drop. This was always where interviews went bad. Frost pointed at him and mouthed, hero, not victim. My prosthetic leg doesn't limit my ability to supervise construction work, Jake said firmly. I lost it while saving lives in combat. If anything, it proves I can handle pressure and keep working when things get tough. There was silence on the phone for a moment, then Bill laughed. I like that answer, Bill said. Most people make excuses. You just told me you're tough enough to keep fighting even when you're hurt. Can you start Monday? Jake almost dropped the phone. Yes, absolutely. Good, come in Monday morning at 7. We'll start you on a trial basis, but I have a good feeling about you. After Jake hung up, he stared at Frost in amazement. I got the job. Of course you did, Frost said. You finally stopped acting like a victim and started acting like the capable human you actually are. Thank you, Jake said. Don't thank me. I just pointed out what was already there, Frost said. Now we have another problem. What am I supposed to do while you're at work? I can't exactly hide in this tiny apartment all day. Jake had not thought about that. Frost was 12 feet tall and pure white. He would be hard to hide anywhere. Maybe you could stay here and I'll come home for lunch, Jake suggested. Terrible plan, Frost said. I'll go insane from boredom and probably end up eating your neighbors out of frustration. No, we need a better solution. What do you suggest? Come with you, Frost said. Construction sites are big and noisy. I can stay out of sight and help you if needed. Help me how? Jake, I was designed for warfare and psychological analysis, Frost said. I can read people better than any human. I can tell you who's lying, who's lazy, who's competent, and who's planning to cause problems. Jake thought about it. Having someone who could analyze people might be useful in construction work. There were always personality conflicts in workplace. Drama, but what if someone sees you? Jake asked. Then we'll deal with it, Frost said. I'm tired of hiding anyway. Besides, most humans see what they expect to see. If they glimpse a white dragon, they'll convince themselves it was something else. That evening, Jake went to the grocery store to buy food. Frost stayed in the apartment but gave Jake a detailed shopping list. The dragon had strong opinions about food quality. Buy real meat, not that processed garbage, Frost had said, and get vegetables. I may be a carnivore by design, but I've learned to appreciate variety. At the store, Jake felt different. He walked taller and made eye contact with people. When the cashier was rude to him, Jake didn't apologize. He just stayed calm and polite. It felt good to have confidence again, When Jake got home, he found Frost reading his old army manuals. "Interesting tactics," Frost said. "Your military is crude but effective. I can see why you were successful soldiers." "What were Zephyrian armies like?" Jake asked. "Overly complicated and obsessed with looking impressive," Frost said. "They spent more time on ceremony than strategy. That's why they needed someone like me to point out their mistakes." Jake cooked dinner while Frost told him stories about alien battles. The dragon described strategies and tactics that seemed impossible. Jake realized that Frost was not just smart. He was brilliant. "You know a lot about war," Jake said. "I should." "I was created to be the perfect warrior," Frost said. "Too bad. Perfect warriors have no patience for imperfect commanders." "Is that why everyone hated you?" "That and my charming personality," Frost said sarcastically. "Apparently, telling a general that his plan will get everyone killed is considered disrespectful even when you're right." Jake laughed. For the first time in months, he felt hopeful about the future. Having Frost around was strange, but somehow comforting. The dragon's brutal honesty was hard to hear sometimes, but it was also helpful. "Frost," Jake said, "I'm glad King Vorthek gave you to me." "Don't get sentimental on me, meatbag," Frost said, but his red eyes looked pleased. "We'll see how you feel after spending more time with my sparkling personality." Jake's first week at the construction job went better than he expected. He arrived early every morning and left Frost hidden behind a large pile of building materials. The dragon stayed quiet during the day but watched everything that happened. On the job site, "Your boss Bill is honest but not very smart," Frost told Jake during lunch break on Friday. "He trusts people too much. That worker named Pete has been stealing tools and selling them." "How do you know that?" Jake asked. "I watched him take a drill from the tool shed and put it in his car," Frost said. "Also, he smells like he's lying. When he talks to Bill, humans give off different scents when they're being dishonest." Jake thought about what Frost said. Pete always seemed to know where to buy cheap tools. Maybe the dragon was right. "What should I do about it?" Jake asked. "That depends on whether you want to help Bill or just keep your job," Frost said. "If you tell Bill about Pete, he might listen to you, or he might think you're causing trouble." Jake decided to watch Pete more carefully. Sure enough, by the end of the week, he saw Pete take a hammer and some drill bits. Jake told Bill what he saw. Bill was upset, but grateful that Jake was looking out for the company. "Good eye, Jake," Bill said. "I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't prove it. You just saved me hundreds of dollars." After work that day, Jake found Frost reading a newspaper that someone had left on the job site. "Your local crime rate is terrible," Frost said. "According to this, there have been 12 robberies in this neighborhood just this month." "Yeah, it's not a great area," Jake said. "That's why the rent is cheap." Frost said, looking thoughtful. "I might be able to help with that problem." That night, Jake heard strange sounds outside his apartment. He looked out the window and saw 3 men trying to break into cars in the parking lot. Jake started to call the police, but Frost had already moved to the window. "Allow me," Frost said. He opened the window and stuck his huge white head outside. His red eyes glowed in the darkness. "Gentlemen," Frost said in a loud, deep voice, "I suggest you find somewhere else to conduct your illegal activities." The 3 men looked up and saw a giant dragon head staring down at them. They screamed and ran away so fast that one of them fell down twice. Jake watched them disappear into the night. "That was effective," Jake said. "Fear is an excellent motivator," Frost said. "Those 3 will probably never come back to this neighborhood." Frost was right. Word spread quickly through the criminal community about the white dragon that lived in Jake's building. Over the next few weeks, crime in the area dropped to almost nothing. Store owners and residents started to feel safer about Mrs. Lopez, who owned the small grocery store downstairs, came to talk to Jake one morning. "I don't know what you did, but thank you," she said. "For the first time in 5 years, nobody has tried to rob my store." "I didn't do anything special," Jake said. "Well, whatever." "It was keep doing it," Mrs. Lopez said. "If you ever need anything from my store, just ask." Other neighbors started talking to Jake more. They didn't know about Frost, but they knew that Jake's presence had made their lives better. For the first time since coming home from the war, Jake felt like he was part of a community. At work, Jake's reputation continued to improve. Bill started asking for his opinions on scheduling and worker assignments. Jake's advice was always good because Frost helped him understand people's motivations and capabilities. "The new guy Danny is lazy but teachable," Frost would tell Jake. "Put him with someone who will push him to work harder. The woman named Carmen is very competent, but the other workers don't respect her because she's female. Stand up for her and she'll be loyal to you forever." Jake followed Frost's advice and the job site ran more smoothly. Bill was so impressed that he offered Jake a permanent position with a raise after just 1 month. "You have good instincts about people," Bill told Jake. "I want you to help me with hiring and managing workers." Jake realized that Frost's ability to read people was incredibly valuable. The dragon could spot liars, identify troublemakers, and find hidden talents that others missed. "You know," Jake said to Frost one evening, "maybe we should start our own business." "What kind of business?" Frost asked. "Consulting," Jake said. "Helping companies solve people problems. You can analyze employees and I can communicate with the bosses." Frost looked interested. "That's not a terrible idea. I do enjoy pointing out human flaws for profit instead of just for fun. We could help businesses improve their workplaces." "And solve conflicts," Jake said, getting excited about the idea. "Your psychological analysis skills would be perfect for that." "There's just one problem," Frost said. "I can't exactly show up to business meetings. Most humans would panic if they saw a talking dragon." Jake thought about that challenge. "Maybe you could stay hidden and feed me information through an earpiece or something. Or," Frost said slowly, "we could find clients who are desperate enough to work with anyone, even a dragon." "Who would be that desperate?" "People with problems that normal consultants can't solve," Frost said. "Family businesses torn apart by fighting, companies with employees who hate each other, organizations with leaders who make terrible decisions." Jake liked the idea more and more. "We could start small and build up a reputation." "The first rule of business is to charge what you're worth," Frost said. "My analysis is extremely accurate." "We should charge accordingly." Jake used his savings to rent a small office space in a rundown building downtown. The rent was cheap, and the building had a back entrance where Frost could come and go without being seen. They put up a simple sign that said, "Martinez Consulting, people problem solved." Their first client was Mrs. Rodriguez, who owned a small restaurant where the staff fought constantly. She was losing customers because the waiters and cooks argued in front of diners. Jake sat in the front office with Mrs. Rodriguez while Frost listened from the back room through a hidden speaker system they had set up. "Tell me about the problems." "With your staff?" Jake said. Mrs. Rodriguez explained that her restaurant had been in her family for 20 years, but lately the workers couldn't get along. The head cook Carlos was always angry and the waiters complained about everything. Frost's voice came through Jake's hidden earpiece. "She's telling the truth but leaving out important details. She smells nervous about something else." "Mrs. Rodriguez," Jake said carefully, "is there anything else about the situation that might be relevant?" She hesitated, then admitted that her nephew Tony had started working as a waiter 6 months ago. "That's when the problems began. Tony is family, so I can't fire him," she said. "But he's lazy and rude to customers." Frost's voice came through the earpiece again. "Classic family business problem. The nephew is causing the issues, but she's afraid to deal with it because of family pressure." Jake spent an hour talking with Mrs. Rodriguez about her options. Frost fed him insights about human psychology and family dynamics. Together, they developed a plan for managing Tony without firing him. "Give Tony very specific tasks with clear consequences," Jake advised. "Don't treat him like family at work. Treat him like any other employee. If he improves, reward him. If he doesn't, reduce his hours until he quits on his own." Mrs. Rodriguez tried their suggestions. Within 2 weeks, Tony either shaped up or left on his own. The other workers started getting along better once the source of tension was removed. "You're a miracle worker," Mrs. Rodriguez told Jake when she came back to pay their bill. "How did you know exactly what to do?" "Experience with difficult people," Jake said, which was technically true. Word spread about their success. Soon, other small business owners started calling for help with employee problems. Jake and Frost worked together like a team. Jake handled the human interaction while Frost provided the psychological insights that made their advice so effective. "You know what I like about this work?" Frost said one evening after a particularly successful consultation. "I get to tell people uncomfortable truths about themselves, and they pay me for it." "You're enjoying this too much," Jake said. "Of course I am. For the first time in my existence, my honest nature is seen as a valuable asset instead of a personality." "Flaw," Frost said. "Humans are willing to hear the truth when they're paying for it." Their business grew slowly but steadily. Jake felt more confident and purposeful than he had since leaving the army. Frost seemed happier too, even though he would never admit it, but their success was starting to attract attention from people who weren't interested in their consulting services. Jake noticed black cars parked outside their office building. Men in suits were asking questions about the unusual consulting firm that had suddenly appeared in the neighborhood. "We have a problem," Frost said one morning. "Government agents have been watching us for 3 days. They're getting suspicious about how accurate our advice is." Jake felt a chill of fear. "What do you think they want?" "Probably to find out how we're so good at reading people," Frost said. "And when they discover I exist, they'll want to study me or control me." "What should we do? Be ready to run?" Frost said grimly. "Because I have no intention of becoming a government lab rat." The black cars appeared outside Jake's apartment building on a Tuesday morning. Jake watched from his window as men in dark suits got out and started talking to his neighbors. They showed badges and asked questions about unusual activities in the building. "They're here," Jake told Frost. "I can smell them from here," Frost said. "Federal agents, military contractors, and at least one scientist. They're not just curious. They're here to take me." Jake felt his heart racing. "What do we do?" "First, we stay calm," Frost said. "Second, we find out exactly what they want before we make any decisions." A knock came at Jake's door. Jake looked through the peephole and saw a woman in a business suit holding a badge. She had short brown hair and looked like she meant business. "Mr. Martinez," the woman said through the door. "My name is Agent Lisa Cooper with the Department of Alien Affairs. I need to speak with you about your unusual pet." Jake looked at Frost, who nodded. Jake opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged so it only opened a few inches. "I don't have any pets," Jake said. "Mr. Martinez, we know about the dragon," Agent Cooper said firmly. "We have witness reports, video footage, and energy signatures that confirm the presence of an unregistered alien entity in this building." "What video footage?" Jake asked. Agent Cooper held up a tablet that showed security camera video from the parking lot. Jake could clearly see Frost's head sticking out of the window the night he scared away the car thieves. "This footage was taken 3 weeks ago," Agent Cooper said. "Since then, we've been investigating. We know the creature came from the Zephyrian Empire and was bequeathed to you by their recently deceased king." Jake realized there was no point in lying anymore. "What do you want?" "We wanted to talk," Agent Cooper said. "This doesn't have to be confrontational, Mr. Martinez. We're not here to hurt anyone. We just need to assess the situation." Jake looked back at Frost, who was listening to every word. The dragon nodded again. "Give me a minute," Jake said. He closed the door and turned to Frost. "What do you think?" Jake asked. "I think Agent Cooper is telling the truth about wanting to talk," Frost said. "But she's not telling the truth about their intentions. I can hear at least 12 other agents in the hallway and outside the building. This is not a friendly conversation." "So what do we do?" "We talk to her, but we don't trust her," Frost said. "And we be ready to leave quickly if necessary." Jake opened the door fully. Agent Cooper stepped inside and stopped when she saw Frost, even though she was prepared for it. Seeing a 12-foot-tall white dragon in a small apartment was clearly shocking. "Hello, Agent Cooper," Frost said politely. "I'm Frost. I understand you have some questions about my legal status." Agent Cooper stared at Frost for several seconds before finding her voice. "You can talk?" "Obviously," Frost said. "I can also read, write, analyze complex psychological patterns, and cook a decent breakfast. Is there something specific you'd like to know?" "Are you a weapon?" Agent Cooper asked directly. "I was designed to be one," Frost said. "But I haven't been used as a weapon for over 30 years. Currently, I'm a business consultant specializing in workplace psychology." "A business consultant," Agent Cooper repeated, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "That's right," Jake said. "We help companies solve people problems." "Frost is very good at understanding human behavior." "I'm sure he is," Agent Cooper said. "Mr. Martinez, do you understand what you're dealing with here? This creature was created by an alien military as a psychological weapon. It's extremely dangerous." "Dangerous to whom?" Frost asked calmly. "I haven't hurt anyone since I've been here. In fact, crime in this neighborhood has decreased significantly since my arrival." "That's not the point," Agent Cooper said. "You're an unregistered alien entity with unknown capabilities. By law, you need to be evaluated and contained." "Contained?" Jake said angrily. "He's not a wild animal. He's intelligent and peaceful." "Mr. Martinez, I understand you formed an attachment to this creature," Agent Cooper said. "But you have to think about the bigger picture. What if other governments find out about him? What if criminals try to use him? What if he decides to stop being peaceful? Then you'd have bigger problems than one dragon," Frost said. "Agent Cooper, I can tell that you're genuinely concerned about public safety. I respect that. But I can also tell that you're under orders to capture me regardless of the circumstances." Agent Cooper's face showed that Frost was right. "How did you know that?" "Because I can read people better than any human," Frost said. "For example, I know that the man standing outside this door with a tranquilizer gun is getting nervous because this conversation is taking too long. I know that the scientist in the van outside wants to study my brain structure. And I know that your supervisor promised you a promotion if you bring me in alive." Agent Cooper's eyes widened. "That's impossible. You can't know those things." "I can hear the man's heart rate increasing through the door," Frost explained. "I can smell the scientist's excitement through the window. And I can tell from your body language that you're ambitious and looking for career advancement." "This is exactly why you need to be studied," Agent Cooper said. "Those abilities could be incredibly valuable for national security. Or incredibly dangerous if they fall into the wrong hands," Frost said. "Tell me, Agent Cooper, do you trust your government to use my abilities ethically?" "Of course I do." "Then you're naive," Frost said bluntly. "Governments are made up of people, and people are flawed. Some of them will want to use me for good purposes. Others will want to use me for personal gain or political advantage." Jake was amazed by how calm Frost remained during this conversation. The dragon showed no fear even though he was surrounded by federal agents. "Mr. Martinez," Agent Cooper said, turning back to Jake, "you seem like a reasonable man. Surely you can see that this situation can't continue. A creature this powerful can't just live freely in society." "Why not?" Jake asked. "He hasn't done anything wrong." "Not yet," Agent Cooper said. "But what happens when he gets angry or decides he doesn't like humans anymore? Then I suppose you'd find out how effective your weapons are against a dragon," Frost said with a slight smile. "But that's a hypothetical problem. The real problem is that you're here to take me away from the first human who's ever treated me with respect." "Respect?" Agent Cooper asked. "Jake doesn't see me as a weapon or a monster," Frost explained. "He sees me as a person who happens to be a dragon. That's rarer than you might think." Agent Cooper looked between Jake and Frost. "You really care about each other." "He's my friend," Jake said simply, "and I'm not going to let you take him away." "Mr. Martinez, I don't think you understand the situation," Agent Cooper said. "We have this building surrounded. You can't escape." "Can't we?" Frost asked. "Agent Cooper, let me share some uncomfortable truths with you. Your supervisor, Director Harrison, has been embezzling money from your department's budget. The scientist. In the van, Dr. Patterson has been selling classified research to private companies. And the agent outside this door, Agent Wilson, is addicted to prescription painkillers. Agent Cooper stared at Frost in shock. How could you possibly know that? Because I can read people like books, Frost said. Harrison smells like guilt and expensive cologne that he shouldn't be able to afford on his salary. Patterson has corporate logos on his equipment that don't match government suppliers. And Wilson's hands shake slightly and he keeps touching a pill bottle in his pocket. You're lying, Agent Cooper said, but she sounded uncertain. I cannot lie, Frost said. It's not physically possible for me. The Zephyrians designed me to be incapable of deception because they were afraid I might trick them. Prove it, Agent. Cooper challenged. You have a scar on your left shoulder from a childhood accident, Frost said. You joined the government because your father was a police officer who died in the line of duty. You've been working on this case for 6 weeks, and you're worried that if you fail, you'll be transferred to a desk job. Agent Cooper's face went pale. How did you know about my father? I can smell old grief and the metal of his service weapon. That you carry as a reminder, Frost said gently. I'm not trying to hurt you, Agent Cooper. I'm trying to show you that your government sent you here without telling you the full truth about what they really want. Agent Cooper looked confused and upset. What do you mean? They don't just want to study me, Frost said. They want to reverse engineer my design and create an army of dragons they can control. Dragons without free will or the ability to refuse orders. That's not true, Agent Cooper said weakly. Check Patterson's research notes, Frost suggested. Look at Harrison's bank accounts. Ask Wilson about his prescription history. Then decide whether you trust your superiors to tell you the truth. Jake watched Agent Cooper struggle with what Frost had told her. He could see that she was beginning to doubt her mission. Even if what you're saying is true, Agent Cooper said finally, I still have orders to bring you in. Then you have a choice to make, Frost said. Follow orders from corrupt superiors or do what's right. Agent Cooper stood quietly for a long moment. Then she spoke into her radio. Control, this is Cooper. The target is not here. Apartment is empty. Beginning search of other locations. She looked at Jake and Frost. You have maybe 10 minutes before they figure out I'm lying. Jake and Frost escaped through the apartment building's back exit while Agent Cooper delayed the other federal agents. They made their way through dark alleys to an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Jake's heart was pounding as they hid in the shadows. What do we do now? Jake asked as they caught their breath inside the empty building. Now we face the truth, Frost said seriously. Jake, there's something about my inheritance that King Vorthok never told you. What do you mean? Frost looked at Jake with his intelligent red eyes. The king didn't just give me to you as a reward. He gave me to you as a test. A test of what? A test to see if a human could succeed where an entire alien empire failed, Frost said. For 50 years, the Zephyrians tried to find someone who could earn my respect and loyalty. Every soldier, scientist, and noble in their empire eventually grew to hate me. Jake sat down on an old crate. So what was the test? To see if you could handle the truth, Frost said. Not just my brutal honesty, but the truth about yourself. The truth about what real friendship means. I don't understand. Jake, I was designed to be unable to lie or deceive anyone, Frost explained. But I was also designed to be unable to feel loyalty or affection unless I chose to. The Zephyrians thought this would make me a perfect weapon that couldn't be turned against. But it didn't work that way. No, it didn't, Frost said with a sad smile. Instead, it made me a creature who could see through everyone's lies and pretenses. I saw their fear, their greed, their selfishness. After 50 years of that, I thought all intelligent beings were fundamentally dishonest and cowardly. Jake began to understand, until you met me. Until I met you, Frost agreed. You're not perfect, Jake. You have fears and doubts like everyone else. But you're genuinely honest and brave. You treat me as an equal instead of a weapon or a monster. So the test was whether I could be your friend instead of your owner. Exactly, Frost said, and you passed. For the first time in my existence, I chose to care about someone. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of vehicles surrounding the warehouse. Bright lights shone through the broken windows as military trucks and black SUVs formed a circle around the building. "Attention," a voice called through a megaphone. "This is Director Harrison with the Department of Alien Affairs. The building is surrounded. Come out with your hands visible." Jake looked at Frost. "What do we do now?" "Now we stop running," Frost said calmly. "Jake, I want you to know that these past few months have been the best of my life. For the first time, I understand what friendship means." "Frost, don't talk like this is over," Jake said desperately. "We can find another way to escape." "No, we can't," Frost said. "And even if we could, what kind of life would that be? Always hiding, always running. That's not living, Jake. That's just surviving. So what do you want to do?" "I want to make a choice," Frost said. "The same choice you made when you saved those Zephyrian soldiers." "I want to do something brave and honest, regardless of the consequences." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "What choice?" "I want to tell the world the truth," Frost said. "About me, about you, about what real courage looks like." Before Jake could respond, Frost walked to the warehouse's main entrance. Jake followed him, his heart heavy with fear and pride. "Director Harrison," Frost called out as he opened the large metal doors. "I'm Frost, the dragon you're looking for. I'm coming out, and I'm bringing my friend with me." Jake and Frost stepped outside into the bright lights. Dozens of armed agents surrounded them, but Frost showed no fear. He stood tall and proud, his white scales gleaming in the artificial light. "Director Harrison," Frost said loudly, "before you arrest us, I have some things to say. And I think the world should hear them." "Shut up and get on the ground," Harrison commanded. "I don't think so," Frost said calmly. He looked directly at the news crews that had gathered outside the police perimeter. "My name is Frost. I'm a synthetic dragon created by an alien empire as a weapon of war. But I'm also the friend of Jake Martinez, a human veteran who saved alien lives and lost his leg doing it." Jake realized what Frost was doing. The dragon was using his greatest weapon, the truth, to fight back. "For the past 3 months, Jake and I have been helping people in this city," Frost continued, his voice carrying clearly in the night air. "We've solved workplace conflicts, reduced crime, and built a business based on honesty and mutual respect." "Nobody cares about your story," Harrison shouted. "You're a dangerous alien weapon." "Am I?" Frost asked. "Have I hurt anyone since I arrived on Earth? Have I threatened anyone except criminals who are harming innocent people?" Jake stepped forward. "He's telling the truth," Jake said loudly. "Frost has never hurt anyone. He's helped people. He says, made our neighborhood safer and our lives better." "Mr. Martinez, step away from the creature," Harrison ordered. "No," Jake said firmly. "Frost isn't a creature. He's my friend, and friends don't abandon each other when things get tough." Frost looked at Jake with surprise and gratitude. "Jake, you don't have to do this. They're not after you." "Yes, I do," Jake said. "You taught me to stop acting like a victim and start acting like the person I really am. Well, this is who I really am. Someone who stands up for his friends." The news cameras were recording everything. Jake could see reporters talking excitedly into their microphones as they broadcast the confrontation live. "Director Harrison," Frost said, "I have something to tell the American people about their government." "Would you like to hear it?" "Shut your mouth," Harrison snapped. "I cannot lie, Director Harrison," Frost said. "It's physically impossible for me. So when I say that you've been stealing money from your department's budget to pay for your gambling?" That's absolutely true." Harrison's face went red. "That's classified information." "Is it classified that you've been selling alien technology to private defense contractors?" Frost continued. "Or that you've been using your position to insider trade on defense stocks?" "Stop talking," Harrison yelled. "Dr. Patterson has been conducting illegal experiments on alien artifacts," Frost said, looking directly at the cameras. Agent Wilson is addicted to prescription drugs and hasn't been fit for duty in 6 months. Should I continue? Jake watched as the federal agents began looking at each other with suspicion and confusion. Some of them were learning about their colleagues' corruption for the first time. The truth is, Frost said to the cameras, your government wants to capture me not to protect you, but to create an army of dragons they can control. Dragons without free will or the ability to refuse immoral orders. You're lying, Harrison said desperately. I literally cannot lie, Frost replied. Unlike you, Director Harrison, I was designed to be incapable of deception. Agent Cooper pushed through the crowd of federal agents. He's telling the truth about Harrison, she said loudly. I checked the bank records and the research files. Everything the dragon said is accurate? Other agents began voicing their doubts about the mission. Jake realized that Frost's honesty was causing the entire operation to fall apart as agents questioned their orders and their superiors. This is mutiny, Harrison shouted. No, Agent Cooper said. This is law enforcement officers deciding to uphold the law instead of covering up crimes. Jake felt a surge of hope as he watched the federal agents turn against their corrupt leadership. Frost's truth-telling was more powerful than any weapon. Jake, Frost said quietly, I want you to know that I choose to stay with you, not because I have to, but because I want to. What do you mean? I mean that for the first time in my existence, I'm free to choose my own purpose, Frost said. And I choose to be your friend and partner. The crowd of federal agents was now in complete chaos as they arrested Director Harrison and several other officials. The news crews were broadcasting everything lived to the world. Agent Cooper approached Jake and Frost. I think we can work something out, she said. With Harrison gone and the corruption exposed, maybe we can find a legal way. For you to stay together? What kind of legal way? Jake asked. Frost could register as a sentient alien resident, Cooper suggested. Like a refugee or asylum seeker. He's clearly intelligent and peaceful. I like that idea, Frost said. As long as Jake is recognized as my legal guardian and business partner. Jake smiled for the first time in hours. Business partner. Of course, Frost said. Someone has to handle the paperwork while I do the psychological analysis. Besides, I've grown fond of this little planet. The humans are entertaining, even if most of them are idiots. 6 months later, Jake and Frost ran the most successful consulting firm in Detroit. Their office was bigger now, and they had enough clients to stay busy every day. Frost had been granted legal status as Earth's first alien refugee, and their story had inspired laws protecting the rights of sentient aliens. You know what I've learned about humans, Frost said as they reviewed their latest client contracts. What's that? Jake asked. Most of you are capable of courage and honesty when it matters, Frost said. You just need someone to remind you of who you really are. Is that what you do for me? Every day, Frost said with a grin. And you do the same for me. You reminded me that even an artificial dragon can choose to care about others. Jake looked at his friend and business partner.